right, interesting on the leaks and rumors front. We've got some more information on games that we've talked about before that were previously rumored and leaked, and it looks like there's some more backing for some of those games. We've also got some other stuff to talk about when it comes to Nintendo Switch 2 news and more, so this one should be good. But before we continue, we are giving away a Nintendo Switch 2 at 140,000 subscribers, or on September 1st, whichever comes first. Subscribe, like, comment. The winner will be chosen at random, and it's a worldwide giveaway. Thanks, peeps. Let's start off with Devil May Cry, a remake. Now, this is something that I've covered before in the past, and now a leaker does claim that it's pretty far along in development. So the rumors regarding this Capcom remake have been going around. There's been some pretty solid information out there that Capcom is seriously doing a Devil May Cry 1 remake. This is the original PlayStation 2 game from the early 2000s. I remember playing it back in the day and thinking, wow, this is like the most incredible action game I've ever played. And it was crazy because we got Devil May Cry, then we got God of War right after that, and then a bit later there was Bayonetta. So the 2000s all throughout that had some pretty iconic characters when it comes to that action stylish type of game. And if Capcom is going to be doing a remake of Devil May Cry 1, I think it'd do pretty well. So let's get more into what's happening here. So just your average leaker has stated on Twitter that a Devil May Cry remake is pretty deep in development at Capcom, and that the leaker expects a trailer for the game to debut sometime soon. Now, maybe the Tokyo Game Show, which I do think takes place in September. Now, people also noticed in the debut trailer for the Resident Evil Veronica remake, there's a pack of cigarettes branded in the name Virgil. So there might be teasing or foreshadowing something because of that, because Resident Evil Veronica is a remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica from the Dreamcast. So Capcom has the engine, they have the developers, they have the talent, they have the know-how to do a Devil May Cry 1 remake, and I think it would make sense. That game is a PlayStation 2 game, so it's several generations ago. It is over 25 years, or about 20-something years old at this point. So to me, taking that game and remaking it, because yeah, some of the camera angles, some of the combat, I mean, it's really good, don't get me wrong, but obviously DMC 5 and DMC 4 kind of blow it away when it comes to playability. So if they're able to remake that and put that back out there for a decent price, I think people would be pretty excited and interested in what they're going to do with it. Now, it'd be the RE engine, so you know it'd be an in-depth remake, so maybe it wouldn't be pretty much like a cheaper priced game. I know that all of the Resident Evil remakes are all full price, so I think that's probably going to be the same thing, but I'm guessing it would be pretty in-depth and really good, because Devil May Cry is awesome, but that original game is a bit crusty. I mean, it's still playable and really good, but if you've played DMC 3, DMC 4, DMC 5, obviously it does not compare to the playability of those games. But yeah, I'd be down for a DMC 1 remake. I'm not sure when we're going to get a new DMC game. Now, DMC 5 is still selling well. The Nintendo Switch 2 version, the Devil Hunter Edition, is coming out, and it's doing pretty good in the pre-sale charts, and people are still buying DMC 5. Not at this point. There was a surge of popularity because of the Netflix animation, so I do think that maybe this might be the next DMC game that we're getting. The DMC producer for DMC 5 did leave Capcom a bit ago, so I'm not sure if they've been able to get somebody else able to do something as good, or maybe they're trying to figure out exactly what's going to go on there. But I'm hoping that the next big DMC game, so DMC 6, isn't too far off. This DMC 1 remake might kind of allude to them getting their bearings with somebody new directing it, and then letting that person make a new DMC game, so kind of parlay that into a new one. So we'll see with that. But we're also going to see with another leak that I've covered before in the past, and it looks like it's going to be happening for sure now, because Diablo 4 has been officially rated for the Nintendo Switch 2 in Taiwan. So once again, this is a rumor that we've heard about before. Diablo 4 coming over to Nintendo Switch 2. What makes this notable is that this is a Microsoft-owned game at this point, with Activision Blizzard, or whatever you want to say at this point. So it's always a bit more interesting when you get it from one of the console manufacturers, whether it's a Horizon Forbidden West, or it's a Helldivers on Xbox, or whatever, or you get like Halo on the PlayStation 5. So this one is going to be interesting to see exactly when it's coming out, because this is now the second time that we've seen some type of rating or some type of leak or rumor. I think Windows Central even reported that Diablo 4 is coming over to the Nintendo Switch 2. The name is Diablo 4 Lord of Hatred. Now, this game was given a R rating for violence on the rating board, for horror and inappropriate language. Now, we just need the official confirmation. Now, we did recently have a Nintendo Direct, if you're watching this anytime around June, so it wasn't there. So I'm guessing that Nintendo will have some type of Nintendo Direct partner showcase, and they'll probably show off more third-party games, maybe Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4, Diablo 4. I mean, there could be more games when it comes to that. They don't show everything at every showcase, which I think sometimes Nintendo fans lose sight of a bit. They think that whatever they show at the most recent thing means that that's what we're getting no matter what, and there's not going to be anything else. So there could be another Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase. There could be something that kind of comes along, or it could just be announced randomly when it comes to that, which we've seen, which we might get tomorrow when it comes to Sonic. I guess that's not random, that's Sonic's anniversary. But there are just times where they announce Switch 2 versions of games out of nowhere, so we could get something like that. I'm not sure how much confidence they have in a Diablo 4, but I know that Diablo 3 on the Nintendo Switch 1 actually did pretty good, and it had Ganondorf in there as an exclusive playable character. So do they do Ganondorf again for Diablo 4? I think that would be pretty cool. But with Diablo 3, they did a special themed Nintendo Switch 1, which was probably one of the more surprising collaborations. I never expected that Nintendo would collab with Activision Blizzard to do a special themed Nintendo Switch 1. So I don't think we're going to be getting a special themed Nintendo Switch 2 for Diablo 4, but I do think that Diablo 4 is a actual thing on Nintendo Switch 2, and we're probably going to get an announcement sometime this year. I mean, the year is running out here. We're more than halfway through, going into July, so I'm guessing there's going to be some type of Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase or something, or just a random announcement at some point saying that Diablo 4 is officially coming over. And I think that games like Diablo 4 work really well on a hybrid system like the Nintendo Switch 2, because it is a game where you're going to be grinding a lot. There's a lot of different stuff to do in the game. There's a lot of content to go through. So having that anywhere that you want native portably would be pretty cool. Now, it is an online type of game. I do have Diablo 4 on the PlayStation 5, and I think I put about maybe 4 or 5 hours into it, and I dropped it. I just didn't like it too much. Not that it's a bad game, it's just really not for me anymore. I did play and beat Diablo 3 all the way through on my laptop back in the day. I do have the Switch 1 version. Yeah, I have the Switch 1 version, and I think I have like the Xbox or PlayStation version of the Diablo 3 game, like the port. Yeah, I think I have it on Xbox One. So I have played the games over the years, but they're not necessarily my cup of tea anymore. But I'll be interested to see how this port works out, and I'll probably pick it up at some point when it's discounted. So Diablo 4 seemingly coming over, but what's not seemingly coming over is Resident Evil 5 and a remake, because famed Capcom insider Mr. Dustgolem claims that they really don't have any desire at Capcom to remake Resident Evil 5. So here's what he had to say, quote, "This isn't true from what I've heard. While I think a Resident Evil 5 remake will probably happen in the future due to fan demand, at present, I've heard there's not a strong desire within the company to remake RE5 presently. There's other projects the team wants to do more. It's easy to say at this point, oh, they'll remake everything, but to my knowledge, that's not what's happening. There was desire from the teams to remake RE2 and RE4. Fan initiative and feedback and interest from some key people led to Veronica, Zero, and RE1 happening. They've brought up other things to remake, but from what I've heard, there's more internal interest in remakes of Revelations 1 than RE5 or RE6, which at present no one really wants to take on. Again, I suspect RE5 will happen someday due to fan demand, but there is no drive to do it." Now, as someone who is a Resident Evil connoisseur, as in I pretty much play every Resident Evil game as soon as it comes out, and I like the old school Resident Evils, or more like the modern old school Resident Evil games. I love Resident Evil 5. I do not like Resident Evil 6. I don't know why they would remake that game. They need to leave that one alone. Or maybe they can make it a lot better, but I'm not sure if they can because that structure of the game is doomed. RE5 I think would work well in today's day. You've got some co-op in there. You've got a lot of really fun set pieces. It plays pretty well on modern hardware now at this point, so I don't think a remake is necessary for it. I think a remake works well for Resident Evil Veronica. I think it works well for Resident Evil 0, 2, 3, 4. All of those worked really well. And I think that Revelations, that is a Nintendo 3DS game at its heart. So I think that would even work well and better over Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6. I think it's the right call. Veronica being the next remake, that needed to be remade. That was a Dreamcast game. It plays still good to this day, but obviously it'd be cool to see clearing everything in the modern graphics. So that was a smart call. I think Resident Evil Veronica is going to do really well. Resident Evil 0, I think that also needed to be remade. That was a GameCube game. And RE1, that's like a remake of a remake now at this point. So I don't know if RE1 needs to be remade, but it is iconic. It's Resident Evil. And yes, the last one that they kind of remade was on the Nintendo GameCube. So it's been 20 plus years. So 0 and RE1, even though RE1 is already a remake of the original game, I think it all makes sense before RE5 and RE6. I'm really interested to see how Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 1, where they get those out and how intensive those are going to be. RE1 will be very interesting because that game was so well done, the remake on the GameCube. Are they going to kind of shuffle it again or the same thing from there because it was already kind of reshuffled from the original Resident Evil? So it's going to be fun. Resident Evil, the remakes, they're coming through. Capcom, they're remaking all their popular stuff. We talked about Devil May Cry, now Resident Evil Veronica, 0, Resident Evil 1. So RE5 and RE6 fans might have to wait a bit longer to see Sheva and Chris back in action there. But you're not going to have to wait too much longer for Splatoon Raiders, as the game is dropping next month in July. But leading up to the release of the game, there will be a comic starting very soon here on the 23rd. So Nintendo has announced via the Nintendo Today app that the upcoming Splatoon Raiders will be getting an official comic. Nintendo says that starting from the 23rd of June, there will be a new comic entry every day leading to the game's launch on July 23rd. The comic series is titled Deep Cuts Island Misadventures and will be published on the Nintendo Today application for iOS and Android. And Nintendo has taken a bit of a different strategic marketing thing with Splatoon Raiders. This has almost been exclusively a Nintendo Today announced, promoted type of game. Now, we did get a Splatoon Raiders at the Nintendo Direct, and there's going to be a Nintendo Direct focused solely on Splatoon Raiders. They feel that it's a pretty big game. It's got a good price. Obviously, Splatoon is super popular. It's a spin-off, but there's going to be some pretty cool gameplay mechanics and things in Splatoon Raiders. I specifically like what they're doing with the whole mechanic angle. You're marooned on an island. You got to bring back resources. You can go to different places and get a bunch of different abilities. I think games like this, where you take the engine that you've got, you flesh out something, make it as a spin-off, and have a good price on there with the $50 digital, $60 physical. I think that works really well to kind of fill in the gaps between the bigger releases. And I hope that Nintendo does this more often, which they've done quite a bit. They've done like the Warriors spin-off games. They've done all sorts of stuff. But I like that they're doing this with Splatoon Raiders. We're probably not getting Splatoon 4 this year. Obviously, it's not happening this year, but next year we'll see if there's an announcement. So I do think this kind of serves up for the appetite a bit when it comes to Splatoon fans and offering something a bit different. If you're not into the multiplayer focused Splatoon, you do have cooperative gameplay. So if you love Salmon Run, this is kind of the expansion on that. And with the Nintendo Today, they were able to announce this game and have posts on it. And now you're going to be able to look at comics, kind of hyping you up a little bit each time. Now, I don't look at Nintendo Today a lot. I did look at it a little bit when it first came out, but this comic, I kind of want to read on what's happening here with Splatoon Raiders. Splatoon has some really funny and interesting lore and backstory with the characters. It's always really quirky and weird, so I do think that I'll probably check out Nintendo today and look to see this little web comic going into it, because I'm actually looking forward to Splatoon Raiders. I do like the multiplayer aspect of Splatoon. That's what makes Splatoon Splatoon, and that's why it blew up so big. But I do like the fact that we're getting a single player focused Splatoon adventure where you can also have co-op with your friends, but it's kind of like a looting type of game. You can pick up stuff, you can build up your base and all of that. I love the single player aspect, and it's more of like RPG elements that they're adding in there as well. So I'm not the biggest fan of the single player portions of Splatoon games. I think I actually like the multiplayer more, but a game actually focused and built for single player with the cooperative element in there, I think it's going to work really well based off what we've seen, looking at the map, looking at getting certain treasures and what they've shown so far. Now we still have that Splatoon Raiders Direct that's going to be happening, and they're going to have a bunch more information on it. They'll probably detail more about the multiplayer and about the single player and different types of weapons you can get and enemies and the length and all sorts of stuff. So they do have a lot more to show off with this game, or we wouldn't really be getting a direct on it. But so far, when it comes to all of their big games this year, at least they've done pretty big overview trailers or directs on them. We had the Star Fox Direct, which was awesome. Now we're getting the Splatoon Raiders Direct. I think we're going to see other games when it comes to 40th Anniversary Zelda. So definitely good marketing, and I can't wait to see more with Splatoon Raiders coming up here. But what do you guys think when it comes to everything that we talked about here with the Nintendo Switch 2 news and more? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, peeps, that wraps it up for this one here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.